Retro-inspired games and graphics flood the digital marketplace nowadays, while some, such as Shovel Knight and Celeste, take the old school gameplay and graphic combo to a newer, higher standard, where others can only dream of living up to their retro counterparts. NES, Super NES and Mega Drive are the go-to consoles where most draw their inspiration from, but Hyper Sentinel is writing a love letter to a different era completely, the Commodore 64 to be exact. So, does it live up to the modern retro standards, or does it blow up on impact? Well, it's time to find out. If at first glance Hyper Sentinel looks strangely familiar, then you've probably seen the 1986 game called Iridium. It's safe to say that Hyper Sentinel is without a doubt a new take on this classic, drawing a little bit more than just aesthetic inspirations. Different visual filters can be found in the options to change the appearance from a sharp, modern day, bright coloured pixels to nicely rounded CRT monitor effects. And not only that, but there's also Spectrum and Commodore 64 filters to change the colour palette to match those of the glorious consoles of yesteryear. Like its inspirational father, Hyper Sentinel is a side-scrolling space shooter that sees a lonely spacecraft taking on huge motherships, ridding these crafts of all their surface defences in an effort to rank up some high scores. Formations of enemy craft swirl around, firing desperately to try and stop Earth's final hope, a single sentinel from destroying its fleet and killing the guardians that protect them. Story definitely isn't the focus, but pure arcade-styled retro fun absolutely is. Simple, yet extremely tight controls give you some gripping moments amongst the chaotic onslaught of enemy ships that shroud the battlefield. Bullets and other dangers are milliseconds away at all times, so to stop your life meter depleting too rapidly, there's a clever dodge mechanic that's easy to execute but hard to master. This is done by simply turning your ship around, flipping your sentinel into a 180-degree revert, avoiding any obstacles or bullets that were on the path to impact. Squadrons of enemy craft also jump into the action, occasionally guarding the power-up. These are fast moving, so you'll have to use your boost to chase them, which is handy as it also draws in the power-ups towards you. What exactly are these power-ups? Well, there's standard health pickups and timed invincibility powers, but others are unique to say the least. These range from rear-firing guns to a set of spiked maces that swirl around, causing destruction to anything that they touch. Another key feature to mention is that if you don't get hit for a while, that your health bar regenerates. This keeps the game fair while also forcing you to choose between sacrificing combo building or risking death. Before starting one of the 12 missions, you're given some choices. First is to select one of the game's 3 modes. Arcade sees you playing a standard arcade experience, where you must take on all the ground-based units followed by the end level boss. Survival is an endless onslaught of enemies with limited power-ups where score doesn't matter, it's all about how long you can stay alive for. Finally, Boss, which skips the first part of the level and takes you directly to the level's final fight, but with added ground unit threats at full health. Next, you have to pick a skill level, from the self-explanatory normal and hard modes to a lesser explained retro. Retro difficulty is brutal to say the least, as you have to know the level's layout a little better. Hard to see sections bounce your sentinel backwards and forwards, causing damage. These can be quite close together with your missions targets in the middle of them, meaning you'll be spinning your craft backwards and forwards trying to avoid them. Perfect for the players who want a tough, old school challenge. Guardians, or bosses if you prefer, are a massive highlight in Hyper Sentinel, requiring more thought and strategy than you might initially suspect. From huge centipede-like enemies to bigger surface turrets, each level's boss will really keep you on your toes. After finishing the main arcade mode, I found massive pleasure in taking on the boss mode and working my way through each of the level's end bosses in quick succession. Modern elements and attention to detail are what really stop the game from feeling old, despite its retro stylings. Faster paced, more action-packed arenas wouldn't have been possible back in the 80s. Nor would little visual effects like the slowdown when you narrowly avoid losing your last piece of health. This in itself is a touch of excellence that gives you one final chance to avoid meeting your explosive end. Sometimes the action can get a little bit overwhelming and it becomes unclear as to what's a wall, a ground unit or another spacecraft. That said, where it can be frustrating, it also increases tension on those near-death misses and close calls. In a strange way, it adds to the experience, but it's really difficult on retro mode to know where these blue ship destroying walls really are. Hyper Sentinel gives you more than just a one and done experience. It also offers online leaderboards and an achievement style missions list on each level. The consistent reminder of high scores keeps you itching to topple your last run. Not only does each level have its own score, but there's a full rundown of high score that accumulates consistently from level to level in true arcade style. The single high score run drove me to complete full playthroughs again and again, just to get that higher place on the online leaderboards. Hyper Sentinel has some clever tricks up its sleeve to keep you coming back for more, going above and beyond just being another retro inspired arcade space shooter. Intelligent mechanics, tight action, impressive boss fights and an itch to be number one on the leaderboards keep the experience alive for a long while the sharp visuals, choice in graphical filters and pumping chiptune soundtrack help you lose yourself in the crazy combat retro goodness. While lack of any sort of multiplayer stops it from being the go-to party game, there's still a ton of fun to be had on solo play, especially for those hardcore players. The initial run through isn't very long, and slightly larger variety in levels definitely would have been a treat, but there's more than enough content to keep completionists and score chasers abundantly happy.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, check out some of our other videos, and visit thenintendovillage.com, your home for everything Nintendo.